They're gonna have to put some money in the black communities, in the right hands, who won't sell out. That's very important. A lot of the people who money, the hands reach, they end up selling out at some point. We gotta put it in the hands of somebody who said it's not even about the money. I won't touch a dollar of this. This is about rebuilding and repairing our community. That's gonna change it.
The people that I saw at the congressional meeting, I've been out here every day. Every day. Ain't near one of them step foot out here to talk to none of us.
Not once.
Don't get it twisted.
Looking at them.
People making decisions for y'all.
Ain't
near one of them step foot out here to talk to none of us. But they up in Congress talking about what the demands is. I need all of y'all to go somewhere when you get home and go and look at those demands. If that's not what we want, that's not what we want, and we not going for it. Because too long other people been making decisions for us. We ain't been making decisions for ourselves. So I need everybody to really take the proactive approach and go and look at these demands, because guess what? I ain't like all of them. And I've been out here fighting for mine. While they set up in the buildings and the offices and looked at us on TV. Ain't there one of them had the heart to step out and come talk to us and ask us what we want. But we out here fighting.
every day.
So I need y'all to really go and take the proactive approach to figure out what they doing up on Capitol Hill. Because guess what? What we fight for is what they doing up at Capitol Hill. And, we all deserve it to ourselves. For everybody that's out here who took their time out to step out here, you need to go ahead, go home, look up what they're asking us to do and asking us to confide to. And see if that's what you want. If that ain't what you want, I want to see you out here tomorrow saying that ain't what we want. Hey, look here, man. Let me.
Decision on July 11th through the 15th for Ward 8 Council. Again, this is a special election that will take place July 11th. Mail-in early voting starts. In-person voting is July 15th, 2025. If you are not registered to vote, I encourage you to do so. This, to me, is one of the more important elections in the history of Ward 8. There's a lot at stake, and I don't think a lot of people really understand what's at stake. And in order to understand what's at stake, you really got to understand where we are and why all of these things are really important. So, without further ado, let's just go over some of the conditions that the citizens of Ward 8 got to live with. That way we'll understand exactly what's at stake when making this decision. I mean, it's only right that we understand that, and we really thoroughly go through Ward 8 as it stands right now.
All projects directly receiving district funds, the Capital One Arena will be subject to to Federal Davis-Bacon Act, which establishes the wage and benefit scale. So what do you get with a PLA? You will get a project built by non-district residents and non-DC businesses. We are confident that that Monumental and its general contractor will make every effort to hire and subcontract locally. But there's no simple way to reconcile the district's first source and CBE goals with the requirements of the PLA. Consider the Douglas Bridge project, which was held up as a PLA success in this chamber earlier this year. According to DDOT's own data, the $480 million bridge built entirely in Ward 8 resulted in just 22 new jobs for the district residents, a mere 10% of all new hires, less than 1/5 of the district's 51% new hire requirements in the first source law. Only one of these jobs went to a Ward 8 resident. Think about that. A $480 million bridge built entirely in Ward 8, and only one job was created for a Ward 8 resident.
Okay, so after hearing the statistics, $480 million spent on the South Capitol Street Bridge, and only one job went to Ward 8. After hearing that, the best thing we can do is say, okay, let's figure out where the jobs went, right? So let's go down here. All right, it's only one Ward 8 resident. Let's see right here. Okay. Well, let me move this over. Where did the jobs go? South Capitol Street Bridge. Okay, there you go. That's where the job went. Right here. Those are the workers. Again, we can ignore this if we want, but let's be clear, none of the other candidates on here expressed anything regarding illegal immigration and the employment of illegal immigrants in your neighborhood. If you think that it's not economically impacting your neighborhood, this is a prime example of how that works. $480 million project entirely in Ward 8. And this is who they hired for the project. It's right here. This is their site. Frederick Douglass Memorial Bridge, a bridge named after Frederick Douglass. At that. How insulting. How insulting. So, who's responsible? Let's see who else we got here. Let's see if Trayon White had anything to do with this. Okay, if he was in support. If he was in support. Oh, what do we have? Right here. It's his project. And right there, it's her project. They put the black faces up there to make us think we're going to get anything as far as employment or anything else. But there you go. $480 million project resulted in one job for Ward 8, and Trayon White is right in the mix. If those things were happening and all that money was being funneled across Trayon White's associates, and all of these games were being played to try to get the allocated funds for gun violence prevention. With all of these things going on, it'd be different if he was doing a good job, if Trayon White was doing a good job. But see, for me, I look at what was happening in that area, in that ward around that time. And so, for me, when you look down this list, the top of it, 18th Street, that's Ward 8 right there. You know, if some of these funds could have been allocated to the community and not to Trayon White's pockets, maybe some of these murders wouldn't have happened. But these are murders, y'all. Unsolved murders. So this is not even counting the ones that were solved. Look how many it is. While we're... And so for me, Ward 8, look at this. This is across the city, but just look at how easy murders. Is it some of them is in Ward 8? Jasper Street, that's Ward 8. Atlantic Street, Ward 8. Lancaster Place, Ward 8. Most of them Ward 8. Southern Avenue. I mean, listen. This is a snapshot of Ward 8. And so, I want to make sure that you guys understand where I'm coming from, where I say nobody should be asking for money right now, in my opinion. When you look down, and it's not just about the violence, it's a lot of other things going on, right? So, let's begin right here. When you look at Ward 8, you start with poverty rate, 27% poverty rate, and median income for families with children, $50,650. So let's go to Ward 3 in comparison. Since we're on this page, let's go to Ward 3 and see how Ward 3 compares to Ward 8. Snapshot of Ward 3, poverty rate, 7%. $250,000 median income. Go to Ward 2. Poverty rate, 11%, a higher poverty rate. Still, $250,000 plus. Okay? So, I know people like to compare Ward 8 with Ward 7. We're not doing that anymore. That would be out. That's out. So, Just to continue on, let's move right down the list. Children under 18. So you see Ward 8 has a lot of children under 18. The population of children is decreasing, -5%, while DC as a whole is increasing. As a whole is increasing as far as the population of children, right? So this is all good information, but I want to go to some of the things when looking through this that was very alarming as to why these council members are totally out of line when asking for anything right now, and why the Ward 8 residents, I mean, in my opinion, should be mortified, right? Let's go down right here. Population per grocery store, 29,000 people per grocery store in Ward 8, compared to the rest of DC, 8,000. At least let's go through Trayon Whites. I don't even know why I'm going through this. His website. I mean, when you go to it's nothing but him. It's no initiatives, nothing but his accomplishments. Okay. There you go. His accomplishments. The Housing for All accomplishment. This accomplishment. That's what he's done with, yeah, no, we're not going over that. He has a whole separate issue. So that's why I don't even, this is pointless, and you'll know why. When I say what I have to say later on, you'll know why this is pointless. He is pointless. You'll know why I say that. But yeah, his whole website is based on accomplishments. Now let's go on to the other three. Oh, and let me stop you. He has no accomplishments for Ward 8, right? Crazy how this leads us back to Google.com. Okay. So, it's the interesting thing about Trayon's situation and why he's not even an option. Okay. So this, as you can read, can a DC council member serve after felony while in office? Affected of amendments. The 2013 amendment by DC Law 19-124A added has not been convicted of a felony while holding office. Which means the reason Trayon is obsolete in all of this, and there's no pointing on in any of this about him, into any of this about him, he's not really a factor if he is found guilty anyway. He is not a factor if he's found guilty because he can't hold office. He would be kicked out immediately. So your vote here for him is obsolete regardless come his trial date. And I'm not saying he's going to be found guilty. I'm not saying he's going to be found innocent. I do know a tape exists with him taking a bribe on it. So for me, more than likely he gets found guilty. For me, if the tape didn't exist, I might feel differently. I'm going to speak to y'all candidly. I'm not trying to convict that man. I wish that brother the best of his ability. We're talking about my vote, and we're going to talk about things relevant to this vote, and this is very relevant to the vote. Whether he gets found innocent or guilty is very relevant to the vote, because at the end of the day, if he gets found guilty, he has to get out of there. That's relevant, right? So I have to look at the evidence and say, well, dang, what do I think? As a voter, what do I think? Can he, well, man, they got him on tape. Okay. Maybe it's not the best thing for me to vote for him at this moment. That's the first reason why he's just obsolete. And it's a very, very big one, because now your vote rests on his case. You have attached your vote to his case. I'm not willing to do that. Because guess what? If he gets found guilty and I voted for him, my vote meant nothing. I'm not willing to do that. I'm not willing to do that. So for me, personally, this is the main reason why no way will I be in support of any riding this out with Trayon, because at the end of the day, again, he's the one that accepted the money. He's on his own from my perspective as a voter. But I'm gonna let y'all see specifically why I feel that way and why I hold that stance. Get rid of this right here. I don't mind. Okay.
Can we talk to you?
1 second. Yeah, you can stand right there. You gotta keep it like this. So today was the day we set our trial dates. I'm extremely comfortable with my attorneys. I have 2 sets of attorneys right now. Just taking it one day at a time. I do want to say this. I am entitled to a due process like everyone else. I'm a citizen of the United States of America. Here in D.C., we are concerned about President Trump becoming president and what that can mean for D.C. I'm a Democrat, but I have nothing against the incoming President Trump. But I want to say this. As a citizen, I would expect the council to give me the same, and the people of Ward 8, the same justice that we allow the federal government to give us. And that's just the vote of the people. 20,000 people voted for me to be the council member last week of the ward in Ward 8. And so we entitled to have our rights heard as well. And so we plan to fight the government in court and just go through the process. And I think that, we have to hear the voice of the people. 20,000 people voted for me last week. We want to represent the people of Washington, D.C. well. And I plan on having meetings with certain leaders in the community to ensure that we're moving Ward 8 forward.
Why are you arguing you're not guilty in this case?
Thank you.
Did you betray your council? Did you betray your constituents at all? Councilmember White?
Why are you arguing you're not guilty? Why are you arguing you're not guilty?
Can you be an effective council member while this is going on? No more comments. Come on, no more comments.
Okay, so I'm just gonna stop it there. Now, this is why. That's one of the reasons why. In fact, I won't even take that. That's after court. You could say that that was after an emotional day in court, right? I won't just take just that one. Let's look at what else he's had to say. And again, this is something else he said. This was a news broadcast, so I'm not going to play the whole news broadcast because I don't want you guys to be swayed by anything that they are saying. This is what stood out to me about the whole thing of what he had to say. I'm not sure if that whole speech is online or available, but they pretty much got the highlight that stood out to me as well. And I'm gonna play it for you guys.
I'm still here. Yes. And I ain't going nowhere. And I believe that God is going to do something miraculous in our world. And I plan on being here when it happens.
Yes. Council.
Okay. I'm still here and I ain't going nowhere. Okay. Let's continue. Again, this is another occasion where he spoke. He spoke to the news, what he had to say, and let's see what he had to say. Again, I'm trying not to play the news of what they had to say. I don't want y'all to be swayed by anything that they had to say. It's about him and his words. So let's see what we got.
I need your help, man. I need to get on the ballot.
If you are reelected, how will you balance handling both? What's happening outside of council and inside?
That's my lawyer's job. I got a team of lawyers that's focused on that. I'm focused on serving God's people.
This week, former council.
Okay. So, I'm going to tell y'all now what strikes me as alarming. What strikes me as alarming and disrespectful, really disrespectful, is regardless of whether you're innocent or guilty, Ward 8, this looks bad. Ward 8, this looks bad. You guys entrusted me to do a job And regardless of whether I'm innocent or guilty, we have a special election because of my actions. Your vote, 20,000 people voted for him. As he said, your vote doesn't count because of my actions. I still apologize for that. That you got to take yourselves back down to the thing and vote again. He didn't even give you as much as that. And then he attached us all to it by saying, we gonna fight, ain't nobody take that money, bro. You took that money. We ain't doing nothing. You is going down to deal with your situation. To attach all of Ward 8 in this mess is crazy to me. That is your situation. Okay, so before I give my final analysis on these candidates all together collectively, I wanted to play something for you guys because this is going to give a lot of context to my final analysis regarding these 4 candidates, which seem to be the candidates for Ward 8 Council. Okay, so without further ado, I'm gonna let Trayon White talk.
It's been a bad afternoon. Usually I start off with peace and love or good afternoon. But for many black mothers, family members, and loved ones, they're having a bad afternoon. It's only January, and we are well on our way repeating the same ignorance and evil that's been plaguing our community with over 200 homicides in 2020 in this small city we call Washington, D.C. But when leaders don't care, because the people don't care. I say this because we never fully recovered from the crack epidemic and the mass murders that swept through Washington, D.C. We had recently 2 50-year-old kids killed in our community. Just last night on Morris Road, I got the call from Queen, let me know that another night, we had a 60-year-old boy in the hallway suffering from bullet wounds, and he too was pronounced dead. Just last week, we had an 8-year-old girl shot in the back in this war. And you hear this story over and over again. And it's become normal to a lot of our people because we've been desensitized from the violence that's hurting our hearts because we have to keep going.
Okay, so Trayon White doing this speech was issuing, he wanted a state of emergency. And just to show you guys what I mean by that, I'll let you see the news postings of it. Okay, this is about the violence. Right here. Ward 8 council member Trayon White is declaring a state of emergency. Calls for a state of emergency. Right here. Ward 8 council member Trayon White is requesting that the district declare a state of emergency to combat gun violence. Okay, so this is why I have an issue. This is why I have such an issue with this. This is the guy who took money right here, millions of dollars, and said that he could help fix this gun violence problem. But even he is admitting right here, and this was back in, 2021. He asked the city for help. He couldn't do it. He couldn't do it at all. Right here. He had no answers. His answers was request that it's declared state of emergency. That was his answer to this. After taking millions of dollars or allocating millions of dollars to people who were supposed to combat this. Later on, we find out maybe he wasn't doing it then. However, there's no evidence to say he was doing it then. I don't know if he was or he wasn't, but there's a lot of evidence that he was doing it in 2024, where he took millions of dollars away from these same people who have been victims. He watched them watched them as victims. And he couldn't even handle the violence. So with that being said, I'm let's go back to the other candidates. You look at the candidates. Okay, so we have all of the candidates here, 7 candidates right here, thanks to Ballotpedia News. We have all the candidates right here. 7 candidates are running for the special election for Ward 8 DC Council. So what I want to do right now is go over all of the candidates together. We can all go over them together, and we can figure out exactly what these people have to say about themselves. I already have each page pulled up. Since we are familiar with Trayon White and what his situation is, I think it's best that we try to see what else is out there, and then afterwards we can go over Trayon White, sift through exactly what happened with his situation, because it's a lot of information that's just not accurate, and it's in rotation, especially within social media and other places. I don't want anyone confused about this decision, because this decision is very important, and we have the power to decide. We have the power to decide as voters. So let's go through and see what we're working with. Now, the first thing I want to start with is the guy who they have at the front, Salim Adofos, is the first one they have at Ballotpedia. Sorry for the mispronunciation. Ballotpedia is the first one they have right here. So let's go to Mr. Salim. Okay, so when you go to his page, the first thing that pops up, support our campaign. With your donation, we can elect a council member that will work to keep Ward 8 safe, right? So that's what he's saying. You can donate, and he's going to work. You're going to elect a council member that will work to keep Ward 8 safe. So he's saying, give me your money, he can keep you safe, baby. Yeah. Okay. So let's go on now. Since he went straight to it, he went straight to it, straight off the break. We don't even know who you are. We're not sure if we want to give you any money yet. So let's figure out what you're talking about. Since you went straight to the dollars, we're going to go straight to the issues. Let's go. Issues and priorities. What I'm going to do is we'll go through his issues and priorities: gun violence, business and economic development, empowering our youth. So the first one is gun violence. Okay, so what we have in front of us now is Mr. Adofos' page. Again, he said, give me some money, I can help you with your gun problem. That's what he said, So he's going to be the council member that helps us with the gun problem. Let's see exactly how he plans on doing this.
Gun violence and public safety. Ward 8 families deserve to live, work, and enjoy their neighborhoods without fear. Yet, far too many of our residents do not feel safe. Homicides, especially among our youth, are occurring at an alarming rate. As your council member, I believe the path to true public safety lies not only in law enforcement, but also in addressing the root causes of violence, supporting victims, and holding those who cause harm accountable. To create lasting safety and healing in Ward 8, I will increase support for behavioral health crisis response, allocate additional funding to the Department of Behavioral Health's Community Response Team, CRT, which provides outreach to unhoused individuals, mobile crisis response, and pre-arrest diversion services.
Okay, sorry, I stopped it a little early. So he says, according to him, we have a gun violence and safety problem among our youth. That was the first paragraph. And these are the things that he's going to do in order to address it. Increase public behavior health crisis response. Allocate additional funding to the Department of Behavioral Health Community Response Team. That's that. That's his first way of doing this, is he's going to allocate funding. Okay, let's continue.
Strengthen victim services and justice programs. Expand the capacity of the Office of Victim Services and Justice Grants, OVSJG, to fund, coordinate, and develop initiatives that support crime victims, youth, and families while improving public safety and justice delivery.
The second way that he wants to address gun violence among our youth is expand the capacity. And the only reason I'm going over this is because it's reading it. It's not really stopping after the title. So it's kind of jumbling it all up. So we're going over it as well. And I want to give my thoughts and commentary on what I'm reading. I am a resident. I do have a say, at least for my own vote. So I definitely want to engage with the public, and I think we should all engage together to figure this out. So it says strengthen victim services and justice program. Expand the capacity of the Office of Victim Services and Justice Grants, right? OVSJG, to fund, coordinate, and develop initiatives that support crime victims, youth, and families while improving public safety and justice delivery. Now, basically what that means is more funding. Let's continue.
Improve oversight of violence prevention programs, ensure greater transparency, accountability, and effectiveness in community-based violence prevention and intervention programs.
Again, the third way is ensure greater transparency, accountability, and effectiveness in more programs, right? Continue.
Support domestic violence survivors, increase funding for organizations that deliver critical services, such as emergency housing, culturally responsive counseling, crisis advocacy, and legal support to survivors of domestic violence.
And I'm sorry, the thing is on the page. I don't know how to move it, but you can see it on the bottom of the page, and it will scroll up, so you'll be able to see some of the text. But again, it's in support domestic violence survivors. That's his third way of stopping the gun violence among our youth, is the support of domestic violence survivors.
Support safe learning environments, assist school communities that choose to have school resource officers, while ensuring those officers are trained to promote safety and respect students' rights.
Okay, support safe learning environments. It says assist school communities that choose to have school resource officers, right? While ensuring those officers are trained, promote safety, and respect students' rights.
Promote data-driven collaboration. Use data and research to strengthen coordination between law enforcement, community-based violence intervention programs, and trusted neighborhood organizations.
Okay, promote data-driven collaboration. He's basically saying he wants to use data and research to coordinate between law enforcement and community-based violence intervention programs and trusted neighborhood organizations. More programs and organizations. Let me continue.
Empower community voices. Partner with local organizations to launch and support new safety initiatives and ensure that Ward 8 residents are active participants in shaping solutions that work for our neighborhoods. Together, we can make Ward 8 a place where every resident, especially our youth, feels safe, supported, and free to thrive.
Okay. So I guess you couldn't get this bottom part on the screen. Please, again, forgive me. It says partner. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have my commentary afterwards. So partner with community voices. Partner with local organizations to launch and support new safety initiatives that ensure that Ward 8 residents are active participants in shaping solutions that work for our neighborhoods. Sorry for jumping up my words. It's just that. Okay, if you notice, everything that was said pretty much was about programs and the initiatives and the programs and the initiatives so that the community has a voice. Well, the people who are a part, okay, now, sorry, let me go all the way back to the beginning because this is the real reason I'm disturbed, and I'm gonna keep it real with you guys. I'm not about to sit here and sugarcoat this. This is too important. Let's call a spade a spade. That's one thing I'm just going to have to do. I see now I'm going to have to do that with all of these candidates across the board. I got to give it to you real. To be honest, I feel, especially after seeing his plan, I feel it was very disrespectful for him to ask for money. From these residents in these wards for whatever reason. I just find it to be disrespectful, and I'm going to tell you why. Because what has these residents in this ward gotten from the taxes that they already pay? You said it is a youth homicide. You started your website with gun violence and youth homicides. Do you really think that someone who has had their child murdered wants to give you money in order to help you get into office? I mean, I just, that is a little bit mortifying for me personally, is that with the conditions that you're describing on your own website, the first thing you do before you even tell them anything is you ask for money. And then to make matters worse, you tell them, give me money, I'm going to support you, and I'm going to fix the violence. That's what it sounds like. Now, maybe you didn't say it in those words, but hey, give me money, I'm going to fix the violence. I'm going to be the one to support violence. Gun violence is my top priority. So if you can't get your top priority done, then we can't expect that anything else is going to get done. Now, going into the top priority, when you look at what was said, it's increase support for behavioral health response, like for increased support, give funding. Well, guess what Trayon White got in trouble for? Funding. And violence prevention programs. Funding. To me, personally, if your plan is to fund someone else to do the job, then that's not really a plan of yours. You are depending on someone else. And you just made a promise to us that if we supported you, you will fix the gun violence problem. And clearly you don't even have a plan for doing that. Your plan is to go to someone else to get that done. I apologize. I'm going to keep it real with my people. And this plan here, to strengthen the people who are already in place, who already have not produced, you want to give them more money, more funding. And I'm sorry to those groups and everybody. I apologize, but I have to be honest about this. If you think that this violence problem that's happening in the streets is a problem that you could just toss money at, you don't know what you're doing, and you don't know what the real problem is, in my opinion, my humble opinion. And I apologize for anybody who might feel perturbed, or even Mr. Salim Adofos, but I found it to be very disrespectful that you asked for money and promised, with a promise almost, that you would fix this problem here as your top priority, and you have no idea what you're doing. Because programs ain't gonna get it done. We've had programs in these communities for years. We've had programs all over this place for years. So that's not the answer. Trust me. Let's go on to the next candidate, because honestly, if you can't get your top priority done, or if you don't have a thorough plan for dealing with the gun violence, as ugly as it is out here, if you think you can just pass that buck off to someone else and say, oh, we gave money to this and this, we're dealing with the same old at that point. That's what Trayon said. So, and again, later on, I want y'all to hear what Trayon White had to say about the violence himself, even when he was in this position. So, and even when he tried what you're about to try, which is give money to these different programs. Let's go on to the next candidate. Okay, now, second candidate we have is Mike Austin. Mike Austin. And again, the first thing that pops up on his front page is, your support makes a difference. Every contribution counts. Thank you. Donate. Join the movement. Donate. Okay. We haven't seen anything from you. We can't even really see your face, but you want us to give you some money. Okay. So let's see what Mr. Austin has to say. Let's go to, since you went straight to the money, let's go straight to the issues, and let's see what you got to say about the issues. Okay, so this is Mike Austin. He's up next. The thing is, he again asked for money from the beginning. So let's see where our money is going with this Mike Austin campaign. Let's get right to it.
Mike has been a fighter for Ward 8 throughout his career. As the Ward 8 council member, he'll advocate to invest in Ward 8's future and preserve her legacy. Mike fought for the DC Infrastructure Academy to open in Ward 8, where residents can access a one-stop shop for Pepco, DC Water, and other DC infrastructure careers. Mike fought to negotiate one of the largest community benefit agreements in Ward 8 history. Mike knows that we can have an inclusive future by investing in Ward 8 students and businesses, attracting responsible development, and strengthening our workforce so Ward 8 is ready for the demands of tomorrow. Attracting responsible development.
Okay, so the first thing is I wanted to stop it before we went into some of his issues. Something stood out to me, and I'm just, again, we keeping it real with all the candidates, where it says Mike fought to negotiate one of the largest benefit agreements in Ward 8 history. Well, Ward 8 doesn't seem to be doing well. So what benefits did you agree to or did you get for Ward 8? Because we can't feel it. Whatever this benefit agreement was, and again, I'll go into what it was and dive into it later on as we go amongst this process. However, to say for anybody to be taking credit right now, to me, is appalling. And so that's why I pointed that out. Let's continue.
Ward 8 has been stagnant for long enough. Whether we have lived here for a few generations or a few months, we know that Ward 8 is not seeing the growth that we deserve. Mike believes that Ward 8 deserves investment so that all residents feel the progress and economic growth of the city. Mike will champion bold, inclusive investment and amenities, while also preventing rents and property taxes from skyrocketing, preventing displacement for our most vulnerable residents.
Okay, so what that stands out to add for me, what stands out about that to me is this word, investment. From who? So that all residents feel the progress and economic growth of the city. He will champion bold, inclusive investments and amenities. Investment is what we need. Investment, again, for me, to me, I'll go into it later, but I just wanted to point that word out because I have a few things to say. Well, I say it now, forget it. Ward 8 has what it needs now. I mean, I'm not sure about, yes, it is an investment deficiency. To a certain degree, right? To a certain degree, it's an investment deficiency. Because some of the investments that have already been made have been made and concentrated to a certain group of people in Ward 8. So there's been substantial investment in Ward 8 that we can see. It's just that the locals have been kept out of those investments. So you've already been a part of, you said, the biggest deal in Ward 8. So whatever you've had the ability to do some of the things that you're saying that you're going to do as far as investments. So the investments that you have turned out thus far has concentrated the investment to people that are not part of the community, to be honest, or haven't really given back to the community. Well, at least from where I'm standing. Again, I'm a resident. I'm speaking for myself.
Strengthening our workforce. It's getting harder and harder for Ward 8 families to survive in this expensive city. It's even harder when we are not creating enough new, higher-paying jobs and opportunities. More often than not, Ward 8 residents must leave their community to find a primary or second job just to still struggle. Mike understands that high-wage jobs are necessary. He also personally knows that many of us are only one paycheck away from a financial crisis. That is why we must create and attract strong employers that train and employ Ward 8 residents for the demands of tomorrow. As council member, Mike will advocate to create more job opportunities and attract new high-wage training providers for those jobs, so Ward 8 residents do not have to make tough choices between food, gas, or paying the light bill.
Okay, so let me go back a little. Again, it's as he says in his own, what's on his own website, these are his words. What is he going to attract? Employers. So you're attracting investors and employers, right? Let's continue.
Between food, gas, or paying the light bill. Quality education. Our education system is supposed to be an engine of opportunity. Instead, this is far from reality for many Ward 8 students due to underfunded schools and high teacher turnover, leaving our students unprepared for the future. To address this inequity, we need a comprehensive education equity assessment to study and develop a plan to fairly fund and educate our Ward 8 children. As council member, Mike will fight for real, equitable investment in our Ward 8 neighborhood schools to ensure we prepare our students for the future, expand early childhood education, pay teachers well for their important work, and provide the wraparound services our students need.
Okay, we have that word again, investment. Y'all do realize where investments come from, right? Like, we've had some investments in these neighborhoods and in Ward 8 already. We've seen how these quote-unquote investments have turned out for us. Let's continue.
Fixing our public safety crisis. Every family deserves to feel safe in their neighborhood. Mike believes in a public health approach to end gun violence, investing in prevention strategies, and reducing violent crime through data-driven solutions.
Okay, so what stands out to me is this data-driven solutions thing, right? And this was the smallest part, fixing the public safety crisis. It was last, and it was the smallest thing. He had all the ideas when it came to investing, investments, and all of this bringing in new money. Yes, you had plenty of ideas. Look at the size of those. But when you come down to public safety, there you have it. There you have it. And it's something else that we must point out when it comes to Mr. Mike Alston. He has already worked within a campaign. He was the legislative director for LaRuby May, who was the Ward 8 council member already. So he's had a seat at the table. And so obviously he didn't do much. Because LaRuby May, she had one term and she was ousted by Trayon Whites. So again, he's had a seat at the table. And obviously, based on his own website, public safety is not really his priority. It's the least of his priorities. And it's the least of the least of his ideas. It got the least bit of space on this page. Let's say it's not the least of his concerns. Let's not say that much, right? We ain't gonna go that far. We're gonna be fair, but on this page at least, that was his idea of how to fix public safety. So we could just assume, based on the ideas on his own page, that public safety is not as much of a concern as the other things, or he doesn't feel like it's as much of a concern based on how it looks to us. I am a resident first. So I'm speaking for the residents. Someone has to speak for us. The thing is with this investment word, why I don't like it. The investment that has come into our community, as I pointed out before, we have not been a part of. And for me, when you talk about why investment is needed, the part that strikes me the most is when you scroll up to here to strengthening our workforce, where it says it's getting harder for Ward 8 families to survive in the city, right? So he knows that this workforce has to be strengthened. The funny thing is, and you Ward 8 residents can attest to this, and I'm going to bring it up right now, and I'm going to bring it up later, because this has a back end to what I'm about to say. Have you guys looked outside your home, and even in your buildings where you live, who has the jobs? It's normally, honestly, quite frankly, illegal immigrants. So when you say those are high-paying jobs, construction is a high-paying job. So when you're saying you want to, there are not enough high-paying jobs, well, why didn't you mention the illegal immigrants? You know why he didn't mention the illegal immigrants? Because the investments that he's going to bring in is going to employ the illegal immigrants. Because that's who's employing them. Much of the new investment has employed the illegal immigrants. That's to be honest. We y'all live out there. Look outside. Find me one place in Ward 8 where illegal immigrants haven't done the construction at. So I just find it, I mean, and again, maybe he's not out in the community to see this, but I am, and you are, Ward 8. We see who's getting the jobs. And it's no offense to anybody. But if we're going to talk about it, I got to be honest. So that's something that stood out with me. It just doesn't seem like he's in touch with what's actually happening and what the actual cause and effect is to some of the things he wants to address or that he claims he wants to address. I'm very disturbed about the lack of attention that public safety got, especially for him being a legislator and a lawyer. I would think he'd have been more creative about how to deal with public safety. In fact, it looked like the data-driven solutions things, to me, when you say that in regards to public safety, it's just because you're not really in tune with the streets. Because you don't really, data-driven solutions ain't going to do it, because most of the data-driven solutions have been manipulated. Most of the data, sorry, not solutions, most of the data itself has been manipulated. You're not getting even accurate data. To me, with both candidates saying they're looking for data-driven solutions, either you know what you're doing or you don't. Yes, you do have to draw from some data. Sorry, you do. But you said data-driven solutions. I am not going to give my whole solution just based on data, because that's where many mistakes will be made. I have my ideas to how this should be addressed. I will reserve that until after I've gone through all of the candidates. Let's continue. Okay, last but not least, we have Sheila Bunn. Sheila Bunn, and again, true to form, support our campaign. Every amount helps. Thank you for chipping in. Donate $50 right smack in your face before you're able to see anything about this campaign or what she's about or any information about her, to be honest. She's asking you for money. Let us continue. I mean, it is what it is. I didn't do it. This is her campaign. This is how she chose to present herself. Let's continue. So, again, since you went straight to the money, we're going to go straight to the issues. And let's see exactly what we will be paying for. Okay, so this is Sheila Bunn. Sheila Bunn, SheilaForWard8.com. Let's see what she has to say regarding the issues and how she plans on dealing with them and what are her priorities.
Sheila believes in ending food apartheid. Sheila believes that we can have strong children, strong families, and strong communities by ending food apartheid, increasing access to healthy meals and fresh produce. By implementing and funding policies and programs like Food as Medicine that integrate healthy food access as a core component of healthcare, we can address food insecurity and improve health outcomes. Produce Plus, Produce RX, and Food and Friends Home delivered meals are examples that involve multi-sector partnerships between health providers, government agencies, and healthy food retailers to ensure patients have access to the nutritious food they need for better health.
Okay, so the thing is with Miss Bunn, it's that, let me stop it. The thing is with Miss Bunn, right now at least, I agree with her. And I want to go back to the text for a second. Okay, so I do agree with her. I'm going to give her some credit. We're going to be fair. There is a food apartheid in Ward 8, a massive one. And the numbers will show that there is a massive food apartheid. I thank her for recognizing that and that being one of her top priorities as to what she wants to address. At least for Mike Austin, I did not see that as one of his priorities. I'm not sure for Adofos if that was one of his priorities. He had a long list of things. We didn't go over everything. I went over specifically crime, and I was turned off by what he had to say about crime. He just seems so disingenuous. And honestly, I'll keep reserved for my thoughts for the end of this, but she definitely recognizes what is going on in Ward 8. I will give her that much. However, this seems a little like Mike Austin, where if you look at what she said of how she wants to address it, she identified a problem, food apartheid. Then she says she wants to address it by implementing and funding policies and programs. It's really the same answer to all of these questions. You identify the problem, ending of food apartheid, and you funding. That's my funding. Funding, partnerships, and policies. Let's continue.
Sheila believes in improving education outcomes. Sheila believes that increasing student engagement and providing more challenging work will decrease chronic absenteeism and truancy. Improving literacy rates for all students. Sheila recommends implementing OSSE's Early Literacy Task Force 2023 recommendations. These include requiring structured literacy training for teachers and administrators, providing more support to teachers, and recommending high-quality ELA curriculum based in the science of reading. These recommendations are in light of the latest NAEP report, which showed improvement in math and reading among the district's 4th and 8th graders, but also a decline in reading proficiency among 8th graders and no significant changes in math scores. Improving math proficiency for all students. Sheila recommends funding a comprehensive citywide strategy. Expanding vocational training. Expanding vocational training options within schools can help more students transition successfully into the workforce. These programs provide hands-on experience and practical skills in fields like healthcare, technology, construction, and automotive repair, areas where there's often strong demand for skilled labor. By offering multiple pathways to success, vocational training can engage students who may not be planning to attend college or who learn better through hands-on experience. It also helps address skills gaps in the labor market and can reduce unemployment among young adults.
Okay, so that was a lot there. So let's go back. She said improve educational outcomes, right? And on that side, it says increasing student engagement and providing more challenging work will decrease chronic absenteeism and truancy. Absenteeism, I'm sorry for the mispronunciation. So she feels like providing more challenging work is going to increase student engagement. She thinks that the chronic absenteeism is because the work isn't challenging enough. That is, to me, a very alarming representation of what she feels the problem is in regards to truancy. I'm going to start there. And I'll continue. I'm going to reserve much of what I have. Well, no, I'm not. First and foremost, in regards to truancy, just to give you some insight on my thought process, at least, you don't know what the problem is. You have to go in and find out. That's the first thing. And that starts with the people who are responsible for taking the truancy reports. And that starts with the people that's on the truancy reports. So to even suggest that it's because the work isn't challenging enough is not alarming. Maybe that's not the right word. It's a little weird, but let's see where she's going with this. Okay, so when you move further down the page, it says improve literacy rates for all students. Oh, that's how she's going to address the chronic. Okay, so she's moved off of that. That's how she wants to address it, by more challenging work. Okay, I'm not sure about that. Let's continue. Improve literacy rates for all students. Sheila recommends implementing OSSI's Early Literacy Task Force 2023 recommendations. So that's the second thing is, one, I would say the literacy rate does need to be improved. It says, which includes, sorry, let me go back to the beginning. Improve literacy rates for all students. Sheila recommends implementing OSSI's Early Literacy Task Force 2023 recommendations. These include requiring structured literacy training for teachers and administrators, providing more support for teachers. Improving the literacy rate, I think, also goes along with the first thing she said, which is the truancy problem. I don't think you can improve literacy rates if the kids ain't in school. So if you don't know how to deal with the truancy problem, which you really lent a very weird answer to, then how are you going to get kids reading if they ain't in school? So, I mean, I think that's just a poor, I think it's just a poor way to start, at least this subject, which is education. I think that's just a really poor way to start it. And Ms. Bunn also has had a seat at the table as well, which she has worked for Eleanor Holmes' Norton office, just to throw that out there. So on this side, improving literacy for all students, Sheila recommends implementing OSSI's Early Literacy Task Force 2023 recommendations. These include requiring structured literacy training for teachers and administrators, and provide more support for teachers, and recommending high quality ELA curriculum based in the science of reading. These recommendations are in light of the latest NAEP report, which shows improvement in math and reading among the district's 4th and 8th graders, but also decline in reading proficiency amongst 8th graders, and no significant changes in math. First and foremost, it's plenty of reasons why you have a chronic absenteeism, and yes, you do have a deficiency in teachers, but it's a whole bunch of other stuff going on in them neighborhoods. And so I'm not sure she's equipped to deal with that, just for me, at least, for even putting this on here. This whole section bothers me. Not to be negative, I'm gonna give her credit where credit is due. Again, I'm gonna take some when it's due as well. OSSI's Early Task Force recommendation, I think we pay well, and if it's OSSI's Early Task Force recommendations, then it should be already implemented. If it's OSSI, if it comes from OSSI, I would think, right? And so we need to figure out why this is not being implemented, because he says recommends implementing. I mean, OSSI, and if it's not being implemented or it's not mandated, maybe getting this mandated as a council member, you have the power to do that. So it's just, and again, I'm not going to nitpick, but it's just, okay, so the reason we're doing this right now, and the reason we're listening in on what the candidates have to say for themselves, is this displays the ability to handle problems in your own neighborhood, right? So if someone doesn't have the post on exactly what's going on in your neighborhood, and you're listening to how they say they're going to fix the problem, and that doesn't make sense to you, then it's not going to work. Trust. It has to make sense. 1 + 1 has to equal 2 when you're talking about public service and public safety. So again, if this is recommended by OSSI, who is the regulatory board for the schools, why isn't this mandated? Right? So if she feels this is a problem, her next course of action would be to mandate it. And I'm going to use Trayon White in this instance. I haven't brought him up yet, but for instance, it was a lot of ideas that he had, things he didn't get done because the process of doing it, either he wasn't efficient in it, or he wasn't, for whatever reason, it just never got done. And then I'm just going to keep it there. So as I'm looking at Ms. Bunn, okay, you're saying the literacy is a problem. Literacy absolutely is a problem. I can agree with that. But for me, again, you've identified a problem that you don't have a viable solution for. So that leaves us where we are now. Trayon White was good at identifying problems that he didn't have solutions for. And you look at all the numbers. All the numbers are nearly are in the teens or single digits. Passing exams, 8%. Black students' math proficiency. And you can look at Ward 2. This is the black students in Ward 2. So this ain't got nothing to do with color. Math is still horrible, 19%. Passing exams, 83% as a whole. Right? Right here on the ABIB exams, 8%, y'all. Post-secondary enrollment rates, 42% right here for Ward 8. Post-secondary enrollment rates, 69%, class of 22. Come on, y'all. So if you want, even when you want to go down here, early childhood. Let's see what we got. Infant mortality in a single year, 14. What we got on this side? Infant mortality in a single year, 5. Deaths due to pregnancy or childbirth over the last 5 years, 0 for Ward 2. 16 for Ward 8. What are we talking about? How could you ever ask these people for any money to support anything? That is why I'm so mortified. That is why I can't fathom these 3 candidates. It is totally ridiculous. Totally. And it shows they are totally out of touch with everything that's happening in this ward. It is highly irresponsible, in my opinion, humble opinion, to vote for either of them. And you won't be able to vote for Trayon White either. And I'm about to show you why. Okay, so before I give my final analysis on these candidates all together collectively, I wanted to play something for you guys, because this is going to give a lot of context to my final analysis regarding these 4 candidates, which seem to be the candidates for Ward 8 Council. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to let Trayon White talk.
It's been a bad afternoon. Usually I start off with peace and love or good afternoon. But for many black mothers, family members, and loved ones, they're having a bad afternoon. It's only January, and we are well on our way repeating the same ignorance and evil that's been plaguing our community with over 200 homicides in 2020 in this small city we call Washington, D.C. But when leaders don't care, because the people don't care. I say this because we never fully recovered from the crack epidemic and the mass murders that swept through Washington, D.C. We had recently 2 15-year-old kids killed in our community. Just last night on Morris Road, I got the call from Queen, let me know that another night we had a 16-year-old boy in the hallway suffered from bullet wounds, and he too was pronounced dead. Just last week, we had an 8-year-old girl shot in the back in this ward. And you hear this story over and over again. And it's become normal to a lot of our people, because we've been desensitized from the violence that's hurting our hearts, because we have to keep going.
Okay, so Trayon White doing this speech was he wanted a state of emergency, and just to show you guys what I mean by that, I'll let you see the news postings of it. Okay, this is about the violence. Right here. Ward 8 council member Trayon White is declaring a state of emergency. Calls for a state of emergency. Right here. Ward 8 council member Trayon White is requesting that the district declare a state of emergency to combat gun violence. Okay, so this is why I have an issue. This is why I have such an issue with this. This is the guy who took money right here, millions of dollars, and said that he could help fix this gun violence problem. But even he is admitting right here, and this was back in, 2021. He asked the city for help. He couldn't do it. He couldn't do it at all. Right here. He had no answers. His answers was request that it's declared state of emergency. That was his answer to this. After taking millions of dollars or allocating millions of dollars to people who were supposed to combat this. Later on, we find out maybe he wasn't doing it then. However, there's no evidence to say he was doing it then. I don't know if he was or he wasn't, but there's a lot of evidence that he was doing it in 2024, where he took millions of dollars away from these same people who have been victims. He watched them watched them as victims. And he couldn't even handle the violence. So with that being said, let's go back to the other candidates. You look at the candidates, all of them. If he couldn't handle the violence, because he said it himself, please, we need help, state of emergency. Right? And we see how many killings his candidacy has resulted in. And his election has, and his, and him being elected has resulted in. We see this, right? So if he couldn't handle the violence, what in your right mind make you think she could handle the violence? We seen what her ideas was as far as the violence. Maybe go over it. So no, she's not going to be able to handle the violence either, right? He had the least amount to say about the violence. That was the least one of his priorities. He had really nothing to say about it. So we know the streets are not going to be safer under him. This guy has been a part, being an ANC council member. He's already been. In fact, all of these people have already served your community, have been people serving your community through all this violence. She was a Ward 8. She was with Vincent Gray. She worked under Vincent Gray. Mike Austin worked under LaRuby May. Salim Adofos, he was an ANC council member. This was your Ward 8 council member when all this violence was going on. And none of them had answers then, and they won't have answers now. So for me, no. And let's extend this. No, it's too many lives being lost. We cannot risk this, Ward 8. No. Let's shrink it a little bit. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is who has presented us with what we have today. Terrible schools. And it's no offense to the schools. I know y'all are probably trying, but we looked at the numbers. We looked at the numbers together. We cannot say that we have a good school district in Ward 8. You cannot say that. The violence is out of control. People are dying left and right. Dying left and right. And all of these people served under people, had a seat at the table when all of this was going on. And none of them made a difference. So they're not going to make a difference now. Just let's be honest about it. And we looked at what their ideas was. Their ideas of how to combat crime was the same ideas that their predecessors had when they worked under them. The same exact thing. And it's the same exact thing Trayon Whites said from the very beginning when he took office as well. And then he came back and said he couldn't handle it. Please, Mayor Bowser, come save me with a state of emergency. It's out of control. We are not safe, and with Trayon White, and we won't be safe with them. And our number one goal is safety. So what do we do now? I'm going to tell you, for me, how you combat crime. I'm just going to give you my opinion on how you should combat crime, because this is ridiculous. What all of them say, they are way off the mark. So when you have this field of candidates, you cannot vote. It is highly irresponsible to vote for any of them. Again, because all of them has been a part of the massive mess that has been made. You are putting bad money on top of already bad money. Okay? The main problem with all of them is they cannot and will not stop the violence. They do not know how to. Period. You voting for them is not going to magically make them know how to stop the violence. They do not understand it. They are not connected to the community. I don't even think they even want to stop it. You saw what they had to say. It is not their priority for whatever reason. And we can get into that whenever you want or however, but that's another story. Stopping the violence is not their priority, right? But see, for me, just to be honest, nothing else you're going to be able to do in this ward will happen if you don't stop the violence, right? So the reason that you don't have grocery stores, quote unquote, because it's really dangerous. According to, numbers and everything else. So enterprise is not going to come with that lurking danger, with the bullets flying, as they like to say. You're not going to get anything. You're not going to get anything done. Everything is down the toilet, right? You have to get a council member who understands how to stop the violence. That is number one. And do you see, excuse my language, hell no on all of these faces? Because none of them can stop the violence. Again, if Trayon White cannot stop the violence, you definitely know neither of them going to do it. And everything they suggested to do is what Trayon White did. He was the head almost of allocating funds. He could pull enough strings to get people millions of dollars. You gave him the power. So no, if he couldn't do it, all these others won't be able to do it either. One main reason: they don't understand what's going on, period. Because if they did, their answers wouldn't have been what they were in this very serious subject of stopping crime, because we can't do anything with the crime being the way it is. Show you how far off they are. Tell you how you fight crime. This is what you do. Because this is not a hard thing to stop, believe it or not. Stopping the violence is an easy fix. It's a few things that are going on, and it's deep, and if you don't understand the inner workings of it, you ain't going to understand how to fix it. Because it's a lot deeper than surface level. Working with the community, or what was their famous line? Using data-driven outcomes, or data-driven. That was their main thing. They thought they think they're going to use data, but it's a lot of things data won't tell you, right? So let's go over it. For me, at least, I'm just going to tell you, in my opinion, my humble opinion, I'm going to tell you just to show you how far off they are about in regards to fighting crime and in regards to stopping crime, especially youth violence. I'll show you how far off they are.
Address the culture. There's a culture of military in Ward 8, period. Because not only are the most murders coming from Ward 8, but Ward 8 residents are the highest victims
victims of murder as well. So for someone who lives in Ward 8, it's not far-fetched for you to own a firearm or want to own a firearm. So you have a killing problem in Ward 8 because you have a culture problem. There are a lot of ways to make adjustments to fix that culture problem that I will not go into, but they are small adjustments. I won't go into that. However, it is some things I can go into, right? Like directly how to stop the violence. For me, the direct way to do it is, it's a 3-part phase, okay? So you have things that you can do immediately, things you can do intermediately, which take a little longer, and then long term, which is the results. Immediately, you can go to the neighborhood and appeal to the people there, which is what my immediate plan would be. We'll go into the neighborhoods and let them youngers know, and let the older guys know, and whomever else, hey, listen, I get it. This past government hasn't been good to you or your community. And we probably don't even have enough leeway to be even asking for a chance. But guess what? Somebody's new is in here. I want to work with you. I need the violence to, I need you guys to hold off on the violence for a little minute. If I can show the powers that be and the other people that I work with that you guys can hold off on the violence a little bit, I can bring the money in here. I know y'all want some money. I'm going to help you get some money. I'm going to help you get on your feet, get jobs, get right. But I need you to hold off on the violence just a little bit for right now. I get it. You beefing with such and such. You got to get your man, all of this. But this is much more important. Trust me on this. If I can get you guys to hold off a little bit, let me go work my thing. I'm going to get y'all some money so that we can build a bridge here in this community. You see? So, that's the immediate. You go to them, ask them to work with you. Me, I know they will work with me, for sure. How many of them are going to go into Ward 8 and appeal to them youngins or them older guys or whomever that may be out there and say, hey, work with me. I just need you to hold off on whatever that's going on as far as the violence goes. They're not going to do that. And I'm not saying they won't, whatever. I know I will. And again, if that was what they was going to do, they would have said it. But that wasn't their plan. Their plan was to send someone else in there. Programs, remember? That was their plan. We all read it. They can't switch it up now. It's on their website. If they say anything else from here, it's just because they heard what I had to say about it. That's the truth. That is the absolute truth. These ideas came from one person. And it wasn't them. And so they can't execute anyone else's plan. You're never going to be able to do that. Right? So, like I said, it's a 3-part phase. First part of the phase is going into the neighborhoods and appealing to the peoples there and saying, hey, listen, I know we haven't been good to you guys as a government. We've put you in really crazy positions. But look, work with me. Work with me so that I can get you some money. I just need the violence to cease. Because if people see that the violence has ceased under me, then they won't mind doing some of the things that we need them to do in order to get a different result in our economics. Whatever that may be, or whatever that we see fit. Right? So that's the immediate appeal to the people in the neighborhoods. The intermediate will be, now I got to deliver on some of them promises. Okay, they have stopped the violence now. Second phase, I got to go to the people and say, hey, or go to my other council members, or go to the private investors, black private investors from Ward 8, who want a piece of this community, who've earned a piece of this community. They've worked with me. Let's figure out how we can bring economics to Ward 8 using Ward 8. Right? Okay? So then we go from there. Boom. Final is the result. Us working together, we already know the violence has been stopped.
The economics has boosted because we're working together. That was, we leveraged the economics for the violence, right? I'm just saying, quote unquote, the neighborhood. You let them know, I can help you if the violence ceases a little bit. We got to get this violence down so that I can help you. You know, I can bring the jobs in. Easy. Easy. We're going to have to pull the violence down a little bit. Work with me. And that's not the only way I'm going to be able to do it, but this makes it a lot easier for me. Even exchange is no robbery. So again, it's two-way street. You know, so I want to leverage the economics for the violence. You know, because if the violence ceases, like I said from the beginning, for instance, the groceries. Let's take it to the groceries. We said it's a food desert. We acknowledged it. 29,000 people per grocery store. That would qualify for a food desert, for sure. Well, the reason you have a food desert is because of the thefts. To be honest, the thefts. These businesses can't come into the neighborhoods if it's massive theft. That's too big of a loss. Financially, it doesn't make sense to do that. Insurance are not going to be able to even want to cover anything like that. So eventually it's going to come out of the pockets of the people who own the businesses, which is not even smart. Right? So that's why it doesn't have a major retailer. Well, guess what? If I leverage the economics for the crime, the thefts also go down. Period. You know how low you have to be to go in the store and steal? So you fix the economics, leverage the economics for all of it. Okay? But you use Ward 8. Right? And you got to understand what those people need in Ward 8. Can't fake the funk here. Too many lives have been lost. Ain't no faking the funk here. So, again, it's a no on all of them. Rightfully so. Okay? And as you can see, I'm not going to go into too many details about how I want to change things. But as you can see, I do thorough work. Anything I don't know, I'm going to go find out. Fast. So at the end of this, I'm going to put my card up. Write it in. If you want change, write it in. If you're tired of the murders, write it in. If you wanted the second option, the other option, other than this, because you're going to get the same old with this. 4 Trayons is what you got. All of them are the same. Right? None of them know what they're doing. And the same means none of them can stop the violence. And none of them are going to try to stop the violence, in my opinion. And even if they try, they're not even capable of executing it. They don't understand the culture. And that's what you have to deal with first. It takes years and years and years to get it. You make mistakes, lives are lost. Oh, I got love for the youngins. For sure. Got love for them. Y'all don't want them. Y'all don't want to deal with them. Let me work with it.
ROMULO Richardson was born into a family significantly engaged in Ward 8, being a third cousin of the founder and proprietor of what many consider Anacastia's counterpart to Ben's Chili Bowl, Mama Cole of Cole's Restaurant. Richardson's parents spent time in Junior Village SE during the 1960s. Richardson's grandfather, Claude Richardson, spent his last days at BC Senior Village in the early 1970s. Richardson's father served as the construction foreman at St. Elizabeth's Hospital until his passing in late 2000. Richardson's siblings have both been employed by DCHA. Throughout these experiences, Richardson has witnessed firsthand how his family's economic initiatives have positively impacted Anacostia by employing local residents instead of depending on external investors. He was born in the District of Columbia and received his education through the DC public school system, having either attended school or resided in all 4 quadrants of the city. Academically, Romulo has encountered the complete spectrum of offerings from DCPS, attending 10 schools within the system, many of which rank among the top schools in the district for their respective grade levels. These include Gideon's Elementary School, Navy Yard DC, John R. Ross Elementary School, DuPont Circle DC, Jefferson Junior High School, L'Enfant Plaza DC, Elliott Junior High School, Capitol Hill DC, John Francis Junior High School, Georgetown DC, Woodrow Wilson Senior High School, Tenleytown DC, and Calvin Coolidge Senior High School, Tacoma DC. Subsequently, he pursued some college education at the University of Maryland University College, but ultimately chose a career in publishing, business, and activism. Romulo Richardson's activism has been featured in various local, national, and international news outlets, including the Washington Post, DCIST, Complex Magazine, RT America, DCW Daily News 7, and many others. He has been instrumental in the passage of 2 landmark pieces of legislation in the District of Columbia. At the age of 15, Romulo was chosen as one of 25 individuals from a pool of candidates to become a member of the inaugural class of the newly formed DCPR's Youth Ambassador Group. At the age of 16, during his first year, Richardson was selected to be part of the YACIAC Group, a distinct subset within the ambassadors responsible for representing the youth of DC throughout the city. In the same year, early in 2000, Richardson was chosen to join the Youth Council under then Mayor Anthony Williams. While serving on the council, Richardson named the entire summit "The City Is Mine." He took inspiration from a popular Jay-Z song that was well known at that time. Following this, Richardson was appointed to the Mayor's Youth Advisory Board. On May 7, 2001, the board submitted its proposal to establish a DC Youth Advisory Council to Mayor Williams. A public hearing was held before the Committee on Government Operations of the Council of the District of Columbia, chaired by Vincent B. Orange Sr. on November 30, 2001. The bill was successfully read for the first time on March 5, 2002. The second reading took place on April 22, 2002, resulting in a unanimous vote, 13-0, in favor of the legislation. The District of Columbia Youth Advisory Council Act of 2002 was signed into law by Mayor Anthony A. Williams and DC Council Chairwoman Linda W. Kropp on April 22, 2002. It was forwarded to the United States Congress on May 3, 2002, for a 30-day review period. The act was enacted as DC Law 14-145, effective June 25, 2002. In 2022, Romulo Richardson initiated a lawsuit against the District of Columbia, a family court judge, a domestic violence court judge, Mayor Muriel Bowser, and then Attorney General Carl Racine, claiming unfair practices in DC Superior Family Court. Despite Richardson's ongoing objections, the case was dismissed by the United States federal courts. In 2022, DC passed the Paternity Establishment Amendment Act of 2022 DC, Law 24-251, which allows for challenges to paternity established through acknowledgement or court adjudication, particularly when DNA evidence contradicts the initial determination. This legislation eliminates the conclusive presumption of paternity and mandates that courts consider DNA evidence when an acknowledgement of paternity, AP, is contested. Romulo has also initiated lawsuits against other judges for unfair practices in criminal sentencing. Overall, Romulo Richardson has dedicated a lifetime of service to DC, with more contributions anticipated in the future.
So how y'all doing? Again, this is Romulo Richardson.
I just wanted to show y'all this because I wanted y'all to make sure that you understood that I am not some random guy who's saying write my name in the box because I know of these great things. No, I actually went down to the Board of Elections and declared officially the same way Trayon Whites and Salim Adofos and Mike Austin and Sheila Bunn, the same way they did, I did the same thing because I wanted Ward 8 to have another option who was not affiliated with the same old, and I am very concerned that none of them are going to be able to deal with the violence that is currently ensuing on our streets. So just so you guys know, I am an official candidate. This is not some person randomly saying, hey, y'all, just write my name in the box. No. I'm an official candidate. Absolutely. You have to write me in because before I decided whether I was going to move forward or not, I wanted to look at the conditions and make sure that I even understood what was going on so that I could, if I could help or not. I was not going to move forward if I couldn't help, and that just took time and research. After doing that time and research, I understood what the issues is. I have a massive plan and overhaul for Ward 8, and I don't mind challenging whomever to get it done. I don't mind ruffling any feathers to get what we need to get done for Ward 8, right? So, again, I just wanted you guys to know that before we even look at this video, I am an official candidate. I'm just not someone who is saying, oh, write my name in randomly. No, I went down there and declared the same way the other people did. Okay, so since I did a breakdown of everyone else's, I'm going to do a breakdown of my own, and I'll explain to you guys what's on my own card and what my initiatives are since I did it for theirs. Okay, now first, bring 10,000 new jobs to Ward 8 in 4 years. Again, there's ways to address that, and I did address those ways on my card, so anyway, continue. Reduce youth crime by investing $10 million into new youth programs / employment. I think them youngins got a different obligation than what they maybe previously had. So especially when when we don't have the same amount of two-parent households, I think we really got to figure out how to get these youths employed and get the youngins into, making their own money and maybe support themselves a little bit for the ones that's eligible and who can actually handle it without it being a hindrance to their academics. Okay, so to continue, you have invest $5 million into retired youth / senior programs. Not youth, into retired senior programs. The seniors definitely have to be looked out for better than what we've done. They are the fabric of how all of this moves. They are the tradition. They are what we strive to be. And so we really need to look out for them better. It is not enough programs for them to include, to be included in today's ever-growing society. This is unscripted. This is just me speaking. So excuse me, maybe jumbling over my words a little bit, but this is unscripted, generally talking to you. Address widespread police brutality. I think it's a gap between policing right now and, I don't know what it's called, but it's not policing out there. So we really need to address some of this that's going on in the community as far as police brutality. I would not stand for it. I'm going to look at every single case and listen to every single complaint. We got to have a good, clean community and a good, clean relationship and trust between police and the community. It has to be trust. And right now there is no trust. And that's not going to work. We're not going to have no society that is peaceful in that manner with that going on. Okay, so to continue, address widespread complaints of abuse of authority by Child Protective Services, CPS. Yes, when I went out to talk to the community, because I'm always out talking to the community, that is something that a lot of mothers had to say, that CPS had overstepped their bounds and that the motives in which CPS are portraying are not how they're executing their policies. So we need to address that immediately. That's not going to work. We have to have trust between the authority figures and the community. There's no way we can have anything peaceful, any form of progress when you got any abuses going on. It's not going to work. To continue, bring several new grocery stores to Ward 8 through private investment. That meant, I said that in my thing, in the review of the other candidates. We're going to build Ward 8 using Ward 8. That's why I said new investment, because we haven't used Ward 8 yet. So that's where the new part comes in at, because we haven't used the residents of Ward 8 to rebuild Ward 8, and that is exactly what I'm going to do. Address affordable housing through new subsidy rent program. You hear that new part? That's using Ward 8 right there to rebuild Ward 8. Absolutely. We're not having it. Let's continue. Create state-of-the-art trade school in Ward 8. State-of-the-art. So that means we're going to dive into some of these areas like gaming. For whatever reason, we have zero investment in gaming. And coming out of our government, which I don't understand, with the kids being so invested in gaming, why we aren't building our own games and monopolizing off of that, I have no idea, because we have a large customer base. And so it's a lot of experience, it's a lot of retail experience there as well. So we have to capitalize off that, especially with today's society growing up, pretty much gaming out the womb. So it's ways to capitalize off of it. We haven't tried. Home ownership grant program for Ward 8 renters. You hear that? For Ward 8 renters. New Ward 8 retired/senior and disabled volunteer and employment. So what I want to do is get the seniors, the disabled, and anybody who wants to volunteer. We all could be active participants in growing and getting Ward 8 back to where it needs to be. But it should be us. It should be us, and we should reap the benefits. That's it. That's it. No offense to anybody else. You guys haven't taken care of us the way that you should have. And so now this is a takeover. We taking our community back. Y'all not going to do it. We are capable of doing for ourselves. We don't need you. You had a chance. So no offense. We're going to go back to the basics. This is my card right here, right in Richardson. You see that? That is my name. Write that in. And these are my initiatives. And I got a couple other things I want to do which aren't listed anywhere, like legislation, these camera tickets, these speed cameras. These speed cameras are out of control. I feel like they're predatory. And all right, I'll give you a little insight. Why not? Okay, so with the speed cameras, I feel like they are predatory. And I feel like when the speed limits were done in the city, I just think that they were done at a slower pace. Today's society moves at a much faster pace. We got to raise these speed limits a little bit, in my opinion. A little bit, especially in certain areas. Coming off the highway, for it to be 25. I mean, you can really not even touch the gas and you're doing 35 and you have a $100 ticket. Millions of dollars are being brought in on the tickets, but guess what? If you look at the numbers, the pedestrian deaths aren't going down. So what are we really paying for? So I want to get with really the constituents and get with the other council members and see really how this can be changed. Because another thing we don't want to talk about is the fact that I feel like Ward 8 has more cameras in different areas than maybe some of the other wards. And I have examples of this. I have diagrams. So yeah, we're going to play ball. because Ward 8 is going to be treated like Ward 1, Ward 2, and Ward 3, and any other ward in the city. That ward is going to happen under me. And as far as citywide, I got a lot of things for the city I think we can do to help other wards as well. I mean, for any vote I would have on the council. But the residents will come first, for sure. For once. Not somebody filling their pockets up on the side. You don't have to worry about that with me. Never in a million years. If I'm not accepting any money for this campaign, which I'm not, I haven't gotten one dime and I'm not going to accept it. I want to do this differently. We need to figure out how to move this illicit money out of politics. And if I'm not accepting it, there's no opportunity for me to owe anybody any favors when I get in here. We need to be able to serve the people now. It's too many deaths. We don't need somebody in there who is compromised. It's just not going to work. That includes Trayon Whites. I'm sorry to say it, but if he's reelected, remember this, the prosecutor could easily drop it down to a misdemeanor and he keeps his seat. But then who you think is going to be running Ward 8? Y'all ever wonder why they didn't try him now? The case is online, and the case is not hard to find at all. We are all attached to the case, so the case is online. A full indictment. Y'all ever wonder why, with all that evidence they had, they didn't try him till 2026? Again, if Trayon Whites is reelected, then the United States Prosecutor's Office will be running Ward 8. Because if he's found guilty, then he can no longer serve. They can easily drop it to a misdemeanor and he can continue to have his seat. We don't need a compromised council member right now. Too many deaths, too many children dying at that. Let's clean this up. You have an option. Write it in. Write it in. You don't even have to tell nobody. But this is the right thing. All of those other candidates, we went through them. Y'all saw it's 4 Trayons. Compromised. I am not a member of any party, nor would I join any party. It's time for us to just get this right. Let's get it right.
What you got the cuffs on him for? I'm a Ward 8 council member candidate, and I would like to know what you got him detained for.
All right, Mr. Candidate.
Yeah, candidate, yeah.
He's detained for our investigation.
For what? Investigation of what?
He's invoked and he has privacy rights.
Okay, well, I'm staying here till you figure it out.
It's a matter of public.
I don't care what it is. I'm staying here till you figure it out. Yeah, that's fine. I am, Mr. Hargrave. In fact, I'm gonna come up to your station and have a talk with the sergeant to figure out what's going on myself as soon as I leave here. Believe that. This is a problem. Where's he at? Let me speak to him, in fact. Where your superior at? Let me speak to him. Where he at? Where's he at? You said, oh, he's in the store somewhere? Because the way y'all ran up in here, y'all made it seem like it was a threat, and he's saying he didn't do anything. He's saying, well, he didn't do anything. Do you have evidence he did something? What's the evidence? Well, do you have evidence of what he did? So why you got him detained? You got cuffs on him talking about he ain't charged with nothing. Investigating what? Miss, back up. They gonna say that because they gonna say that you. They gonna say that they got a certain amount of space that for the investigation. Please.
That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, just please. For me, please. I know you not. Please, for me. I'm gonna press them out. You ain't got to do nothing. I got them because he's saying he didn't do anything. Exactly. And that's a problem. I got them. But no, it's not. That's a problem.
In order to investigate this type of stuff so that we don't have to be out here marching. So whatever they doing, I can't figure it out. So being as though we right outside their building, I know somebody is still at work. They need to hear our voices or see us near and let them know we're serious. So we're going to give it 8 seconds. and we're going to kneel for George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and every unarmed killing in this country, and we asking them to just go investigate. Just go investigate the same way you investigate them dudes in the hood selling dime bags of crack.
Yeah. Yeah.
Y'all don't have no problem investigating that.
Yeah, real spill. Real.
If it was one of their kids, daughters, cousins, it would be investigated. If something happened to one of them Trump kids, they investigated. They were in his choice. Give us the same respect. We pay y'all for that. So we're going to take a kneel right now. And after that, we're going to march on them back. Let them hear our voice. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I need everybody to hold their peace up, signs up. Name my organization. It's us. That means all of us. Peace movement. Because guess what? They can act like they don't hear us all they want. They hear us. You know they hear us because they talk about us. When you turn your TV on, you can't see nothing but us. You can't see nothing but what we doing. And we doing it in peace, baby.